guys. I think we are ready to get started. Thank you so much again for attending us here today for our second live event, Experts Live, How to Find High Quality CBD. I'm very excited that we have both Jen Palmer and Eddie Palumbo here with us today. Both of them are work for us here at Charlotte's Web, and as you can see, we are practicing social distancing. We're all working from home and really just trying to practice those safe standards. So that's why we all look a little different right now. But thank you guys for attending. So just to give you a quick intro here, we have Dr. Jen Palmer with us. She is the Director of Education here at Charlotte's Web and is a naturopathic doctor with 20 years of experience in the supplement industry and integrative medicine profession. Jen is passionate in sharing her knowledge about natural medicine, and her dedication to educating on the health benefits of hemp-derived CBD started when she used hemp extract to successfully support her dog's health. Now, Eddie Palumbo is our Senior Research and Development Scientist. He has been working in both legal cannabis and hemp for about over 5 years. And during his time here at Charlotte's Web, he has helped optimize extraction and purification processes while bolstering quality control testing capabilities, as well as expanding our product line. Eddie is also mediating several research collaborations and clinical studies with a variety of universities and colleges for us. And he enjoys reading short stories and taking his rec soccer team just a little bit too seriously. So thank you, Jen and Eddie, for being with us here today. I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks,
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jen, and I was supposed to give Amanda some personal information and I forgot, so I will share with you. I enjoy being outdoors and hiking in the mountains here, and also I enjoy beaches. And also, fun fact, I play the violin, and I'm just getting back into it after many years, and it's kind of my new coronavirus hobby. So thank you for joining us today. I'm really happy that you all are joining us as an educated shopper and that you're interested in learning about what makes CBD a good quality, because it's a really important topic. So as probably you all know, as of today, May 15th, 2020, the FDA has not yet established regulatory guidelines for CBD companies. So that means the onus is really on you to be knowledgeable about where your CBD was manufactured and make sure you feel confident and you can trust that company. You really want to be sure that those CBD products that you're ingesting have been manufactured in a safe way and that they've been adequately tested. As you probably may have heard, there's over 3,500 companies now selling CBD. And not all of them have the resources to do this very expensive but necessary testing. And unfortunately, some of these companies are really just out to make a profit. So that's why it's really important that you know what you're buying. So Charlotte's Web is dedicated to setting really high standards for this industry because we want to. And we're not going to wait for the FDA to tell us to do that. We really care about elevating these standards rather than just being out to sell products. I also feel that it's our responsibility to provide education to you, and that's why I invited my fellow science geek and friend, Eddie, to join us today and help us understand the importance of quality control. So, Eddie, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Can you first start off by just giving us a little taste of what do you do at Charlotte's Web? What kind of projects do you work on and fun things are you involved in?
Sure, definitely. So typically as a senior research and development scientist, I help lead our group of research associates to evaluate different extraction processes and to optimize them so that we're really making sure that we're effectively capturing full spectrum hemp extracts from the biomass that we extract. I also have quite a bit of involvement in developing some of our test methods for quality control and quality assurance. And as Amanda alluded to a little bit earlier, some of the more interesting parts of my job revolve around creating more innovative products in the CBD hemp industry, while also fostering research collaborations at a variety of colleges and universities to better understand the effect of our products on people.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about one of those studies kind of at the end, and I'm excited to share that one. And people might think we have this huge team of research scientists at Charlotte's Web, but we really don't. There's just a real small handful. So Eddie has a lot of input and important responsibilities at the company. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, Eddie, is we know that hemp is a phytoremediator plant. So can you please explain to everyone what that means really? And why is it so important to understand that about hemp when people are researching these different CBD products that are available?
Definitely, definitely. So typically, when you consider land that has had quite a bit of pollution take place in the soil, particularly either heavy metal pollution or the leaching of other toxic materials into the soil, people will often try and find very natural ways of remediating that soil. And one of the ways is to use plants like hemp. Hemp is part of a group of phytoremediators that are very effective at pulling those toxic materials out of the soil. So in effect, it's a very environmentally friendly way to try to remediate contaminated land. Unfortunately for us, that means if we're privy to consuming any hemp products, there is some danger in potentially consuming the heavy metals or other toxic chemicals that went from the soil into the roots of the hemp plant and then into the hemp plant itself. So it's very important to consider the type of testing that we conduct on the hemp biomass so that we understand that not only the soil in which it was grown is clean, but also the water that was used to help the plant grow is also contaminant free.
Right. And we really can't take that for granted. So it's an important reason why we have to research this kind of thing. One of the things that Charlotte's Web's really proud of is that we have really good farming partners who are American family farmers, and they're in Kentucky and Oregon and Colorado. And they are planting the hemp plants that we are providing to them, and those have our own proprietary genetics. And we are counting on them and overseeing them, that knowing that they're doing organic practices for their farming methods and they're not using any kind of toxins or chemicals, and that they're using really clean soil. And at this point, half of our family farms are USDA certified organic, and the other half are really close to getting to that point. It's a long process. So they're all practicing with organic methods. But even though we are doing these organic farming methods, we still do a lot of testing from soil all the way to our final product, just to make sure there's no contamination along the way. So Eddie, can you talk to us a little bit about what kind of testing we do? And then I will go on the website and show everyone how to download our certificate of analysis so they can see for themselves.
Definitely, definitely. We test throughout the process of manufacturing hemp products. So we start with testing the hemp biomass that we harvest from the earth itself. And we test for things like heavy metals. So that would be lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic, which are shown to be fairly toxic when consumed over extended periods of time. We also test for what are called aflatoxins and mycotoxins. So these are toxins produced by different types of fungi and molds that naturally grow on the plant. Those can also confer certain deleterious effects if consumed. We also look at water activity of the hemp because that is an indicator very indirectly of microbial growth. We also do full panel microbial growth analysis of that hemp biomass. We also do potency analysis of the hemp to better understand how much CBD and other phytocannabinoids are present in that material. And the testing just continues to ramp up from there. Once we take that quality accepted hemp biomass into our manufacturing facility and extract it, we then conduct more heavy metal testing on the extract to show that there really aren't, there's no possibility of heavy metals leaching from our extraction equipment into the extract itself. We look at residual solvent testing to make sure that there are no residual extraction solvents found in the extract. Again, we do more microbiological testing, total yeast and mold testing for these in-process extracts and the finished products themselves. And kind of very importantly, we tend to double check our math by doing some of this additional testing we already did in the biomass, just to ensure that there was no possibility of cross contamination, or really any viable entry of toxins that can have a deleterious effect on people. And one of the big things I like to point out is we do quite a bit of pesticide testing. The Department of Agriculture in Colorado, I believe they're the ones that oversee hemp cultivation in the state. They, I think, only require a handful of toxic pesticides to be tested. But if you look at some of the legal marijuana markets like California and Canada, they typically require 50 to 60 different pesticides to be tested, and their action limits are much lower. So I think this is an example of how Charlotte's Web, we've got your back. We are holding our product to the highest quality, to the utmost level in terms of regulatory oversight that we can. We're not really required to do some of this pesticide testing up to a point. We're going well beyond that point to ensure that not that there are any toxic pesticides that we spray, but because a majority of our hemp farms are outside, we need to make sure that there is no concern of contamination from other fields, because unfortunately we can't control what other farmers put on their crops, but we can still test for it just to make sure that our consumer, namely you, will not be ingesting any of those toxic materials.
Yeah, that's a lot of testing. And when you think about it, obviously that's going to cost a lot of money. And so a smaller company may not have the resources to do that high level of testing. And so it's just another thing to consider when you're choosing your CBD product. So for people who are interested in looking at the results of the testing on the final product that we're selling, what you can do is can you guys see my screen and can you see me? Okay, so if you look on the bottle, on the box, or also on the bottle, on the bottom, you'll see a code there. So that's the batch number or lot number that we call. So on our website, you go to this tab, Explore, and then on the side, you'll see the option to click on Certificate of Analysis. And then here is where you put in that lot number that's on the bottom of your box. So you type that in and click Find Certificate. And then you download it. And voila, these are the tests that was done on this product. So that's pretty cool. So you know that what you're using has been tested. And so as Eddie explained, you can see here, what are the levels of the phytocannabinoids that we have? We have THC testing and we have the CBD levels. We show some of the other phytocannabinoids that are present, like the CBG and the CBN and the CBC, which all have other different health benefits, and those are in our full spectrum product. We also show the microbial testing, as Eddie had indicated, and then we've compiled all those solvent testing. There's about 20 solvents, I believe, that we test for. These all passed. Our heavy metals are shown here, and then all our pesticides are compiled into one test, which is a pass. We also, within that pesticides, we are testing for glyphosate, which you may know as Roundup, and we're making sure that that didn't get into this process anywhere along the way because we feel that that's very unsafe. So that's your certificate of analysis, and that's a great way to check on the quality of your products.
Yeah, and Jen, if I can interject
Please.
really quickly, I'd just like to add on to, even at the most basic analysis of what is in our product in terms of cannabinoids, that's really important. You can buy something that says it has 50 milligrams of CBD on Amazon. You can buy it elsewhere on the internet, and there really is no guarantee, if they don't couple that product with a COA and a lot number, that what you're buying is what you're getting. I think within the last year, our former director of quality management services purchased something like 40 to 50 different products that were offered on Amazon that were advertised as containing CBD. And most, if not all of them, did not contain any CBD at all. And I think one of them contained a synthetic cannabinoid. So something to keep in mind when you're shopping in the CBD hemp market, you really want to ensure that there is full traceability for that product specifically through the lot number, as Jen pointed out, and all of the testing COAs associated and connected with that lot number.
That's such a great point, and I'm so glad that we did do that experiment. And that also confirms a study, I think it was in JAMA a while ago, when they tested a bunch of products off the shelf like that, and they found a lot of fake products. And like I said, there's some companies out there that are just out to make money, and they're not really out to help people. And so really it boils down to having a lot of trust in where you're buying from. And so, that's what that's our mission, is to have credible and trustworthy products. And Eddie, let's talk real quickly about, speaking of trust, some of the certifications that we have, which show consumers that we are following these strict standards. So we have like these outside parties who come in and confirm that, yes, Charlotte's Web is doing all of these steps. So do you want to talk about like Hemp Authority and NSF a little bit?
Sure. So in the hemp space, the term CGMP, it stands for Current Good Manufacturing Practices. And you'll find that a lot of CBD companies and other dietary supplement companies, they use this acronym to try and display or showcase their testament to quality. Unfortunately, it's becoming much more of a buzzword. What it really is based on is a company's adherence to FDA regulations for dietary supplements. I think the specific code of federal regulations is 21 CFR Part 111. And basically, it's like a 20-page booklet that the FDA has provided as guidance to dietary supplement manufacturers about full traceability, good documentation practices, ways to ensure that the product is manufactured in a safe environment, and that there is no risk of contamination or mix-ups. And so one way that we're really trying to demonstrate that we're meeting those guidelines is by inviting these third-party auditors like the NSF, which is the National Sanitation Foundation, as well as the U.S. Hemp Authority, into our facility to see how we're adhering to these federal regulations. And they don't give their certification to everyone. It's really only people that have a lot of these processes built into both their manufacturing processes and their quality control and quality assurance processes as well. So having those stamps on our product can ensure to you that our product is fully traceable by lot number from seed to plant all the way through in-process extracts to the final finished product that you're purchasing off the shelf. So that was a major milestone for Charlotte's Web to meet to garner that certification from those two very well-respected national bodies.
Yeah, and the U.S. Hemp Authority seal is actually on our products and the label. So you can look at other products packaging and see if they are also certified by the U.S. Hemp Authority. And again, this is not a cheap process to go through this auditing program, and so not everyone can afford to do that. So you really want to, think about where you're buying your products from. So Amanda put up this checklist for you if you're shopping for CBD. Just little things to remember, like is the company doing extensive testing? Are they U.S. Hemp Authority certified? Are they NSF certified? Are they using organic practices? Maybe they're not USDA certified organic, but are they growing their plants in an organic method? Also, are they using a full spectrum hemp extract? So you're getting all the goodness and other great plant compounds that hemp offers, and just making sure that that company has full oversight over all the processes, and that they are fully traceable and can track back all those steps and confirm that, yes, this product went through all the necessary steps. So those are kind of our ideal checklist. So before we wrap up and take questions, Eddie, I was wondering if you could just give these folks a little summary about this study that's coming up on CBD safety and how they can get involved if they're interested.
Definitely, I would love to. So currently, We are collaborating with some major CBD companies within our industry, I think 7 total, to showcase and demonstrate to the FDA that CBD is well tolerated and safe for consumers. There hasn't been a lot of liver toxicity studies published in the literature in humans. And that's a sticking point that the FDA has publicly made available to consumers, that this data hasn't been published. So we're going kind of beyond what's asked of us as industry leaders in this space to demonstrate that CBD is safe. So we're doing I believe it's 60-day liver toxicity study with some of these major CBD companies. We're looking to recruit for ourselves about 120 different participants, and then every subsequent CBD company is responsible for recruiting other participants for this trial. And this is an IRB approved clinical trial. So it has gotten the blessing from a major university that is ethical and that it's safe to participate in this study. And in effect, what we're going to be doing is offering people $100 as a cash reward, as well as 30 days of free product to participate in the study. And what it comes down to is you're going to be taking the product for 30 days while journaling through that 30 days about how you feel and how you've either noticed or didn't notice any effects of the product on yourself. And so ultimately, at the end of the 30 days, as a part of the program, you would then be required to travel to a testing lab, which interestingly enough, we're partnering with 2 very large clinical testing labs, LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics, which I believe like 95% of the US population is within a 10-minute drive of one of those facilities. So it's not going to be an arduous task to participate in the study. You'll donate 1 blood sample at the end of the 30 days, and that will be a blood sample looking for elevated liver enzymes in your bloodstream, and that's kind of our marker for whether or not there is any pronounced liver toxicity. And so we're fairly certain that there won't be, but we need to have that data for the FDA in order to move forward with trying to bring about more regulation in this industry.
Yeah, that's great, Eddie. And it's nice to know that all those labs are going to be so easily available to people. And just to assure people, we feel that this is a very safe product and we have no concerns about it. The research that has been done on CBD has been done at extremely high doses that you would never take with a full spectrum hemp extract. And most of the safety studies have been done with a CBD isolate, which is very different. And so it's really not fair to use the data from that with really, really high doses of CBD and say that that's applied to what we're using. So we know that the dosage that our consumers are using and using this full spectrum hemp extract are very safe. And we're just checking liver enzymes to prove that. If liver enzymes are elevated, often that means nothing clinically. It's usually can be very insignificant and usually they resolve on their own, but we just want to collect all this data and make sure that we can show the FDA, hey, the kind of products that we are selling to consumers are very safe and efficacious. So please, if you're interested in joining that, go to that website right there, the bit.ly website, and you just have to answer some questions and we will collect that information. And then we will contact you if you qualify for the study and you'll get free product and $100. So thank you, Eddie, for all that awesome information. It looks like we have a ton of questions piled up. So Amanda, I'm gonna let you take over now.
Yeah, everyone, quite a few questions. So I'll kind of start at one spot and then go from there. So give me one, oop, pardon me, friends, little too trigger happy here with the mouse. So Suzanne would like to know, how stable is the phytocannabinoid profile from crop to crop? Based on different genetics and plants and growing conditions like soil quality and climate, does that really impact the cannabinoid profile of the hemp plant?
That's a wonderful question. We are currently in the process of better understanding the effect of different growing environments on our proprietary cultivars. And when I say that, we're going to be looking at the full spectrum of all the compounds, including terpenes, flavonoids, plant sterols, in addition to phytocannabinoids. But primarily what we do know from, I think, 2-3 years of collecting data, we know that that cannabinoid profile is quite stable from cultivar to cultivar. And so we're very consistently seeing between 23-1 CBD to THC ratios across the board in all of the cultivars that we've successfully hybridized and developed. And we're taking additional steps to better understand how different areas in our farms in Colorado are affected by how those plants are affected by their environment. That's a great question. We're actually partnering with CSU and their Department of Agriculture to better understand that from a metabolomic profile.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was awesome. We have another question from Kelly. It's asking about our full traceability. So is that something that is managed by Charlotte's Web on its own, or do we rely on other partners to kind of help us with that full traceability?
That is all through Charlotte's Web, from the small family farms that we've engaged in cultivation all the way through our manufacturing facility. Because we have very stringent good documentation practices, we have it's something like a 12-digit serial number for each bin of hemp harvested from the field that tells you its exact location on that plot. And then that serial code, basically it's following the plant through our hemp processing facility and into the manufacturing facility in the batch record. And it's going to follow it with a new batch record that is then designated. That's on the bottom of the bottle. I think it's something like 7 or 8 digits. And so ultimately what we can do is point a specific tincture, gummy, topical, look at that lot number, and we can trace it back to where the hemp extracted for that product was grown, where geographically on the farm, which I think is pretty awesome in terms of full traceability and transparency by Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Eddie. So we have a few questions about our testing and certificate analysis. So I'll kind of break them down into a few sections if you guys don't mind. So Christine would like to know kind of that she notices that our testing is kind of varied or has changed recently from past years, that we're providing a bit more information in terms of ingredients and other phyto compounds. Do we anticipate that our certificate analysis will be more specific and transparent as we move forward? Or how do you think that will change or maybe not change?
We are working on showing more details in that certificate of analysis. As I showed you on the one on the screen, it says past, and so compiled. There's just a ton of data that we're getting from all these different resources. So we're just compiling it in that one document and showing that to make it easy. But there is some work in the process that we might in the future be able to show all of those details. It will get to be a much longer document with a lot more details and harder to read, but hopefully that will be useful to people as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jen. And something to point out is because we so strictly adhere to the good documentation practices of the Code of Federal Regulations for dietary supplements, doing something like that takes some time. There is a lot of documentation that needs to go into changing the format of those COAs to include additional testing results. So it's something that's not necessarily able to happen overnight. I believe Jen's kind of helping spearhead that initiative, but it just takes time with interfacing our marketing and sales group with our quality management system.
Yeah, it is a massive project. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as it sounds. Some people have mentioned that link wasn't working for them, and that might be, it might be just working for CW employees. So please, if you're interested in this study, just email me, Jen, Jen.Palmer at charlottesweb.com. So Jen, Jen.Palmer at charlottesweb.com. And if you're interested in joining the study, which I hope you are, just send me an email and then we will get a different link for the full survey, which is actually not ready yet. And we would love for you to join us. So, and also you can use that email if you have any questions for me later that you think of.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jen. I just saw those that I was going to ask you, so I'm glad you caught that. Another question from Michael in regards to our certificate of analysis. He's wondering if we can define the limit of detection and limit of quantification. He sees this in a lot of certificates analysis and is just wondering what is the difference between them?
So what is the difference between limit of detection and limit of quantification? Is that the question, Amanda?
Yes,
I'm so glad you're here to answer that, Eddie, because I have no idea.
Yeah, so the limit of detection, basically that is a amount that the instrument itself that's using to test, let's say it's phytocannabinoids, for example. Typically what we're going to be using is an HPLC UV. And so that UV detector is what really comes into helping us understand how much of a compound is present in a sample. And so there are a couple different ways that you can calculate that that LOD, which is the smallest, basically it's the smallest amount of a compound that the instrument can discern from just normal signal noise in that detector. And so that's going to vary depending on what instrument you have, as well as how much sample you're testing, how concentrated that sample is that you're injecting into the instrument for testing. And then the LOQ is going to be very similarly related to the LOD, which is the lowest level that can be quantified. And so detection is being able to ascertain whether or not a compound is there or if it's just normal signal to noise that exists in that detector. The LOQ is, okay, within a certain degree of certainty, how you can measure this effectively before it starts to look at being a component of that signal to noise in the instrument. So typically those levels are very close to each other. When you get down to something that, is 50 parts per million LOD, you're not going to really be able to quantify what that compound, how much that compound is present very accurately or with much confidence. So that's kind of the difference between LOD and LOQ. We are in the process of trying to incorporate some more of that detail in our COAs. Like I said earlier, Jen is helping us kind of usher that in to really be fully transparent. But something to keep in mind is LOD and LOQ can vary fairly greatly from instrument to instrument. It can also vary quite greatly depending on how concentrated of a sample you're making. I know that was a lot. So
hey, they asked the question, Eddie.
Also very helpful, and I feel like I've learned several new things today, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there because I saw this question come up and it's actually a good one. I guess we weren't very clear about. If you want to join the study, it's actually preferred that you have been taking CBD for a while because we want to check the long-term effects. So actually, I think the requirement is that you have to be taking it for 30 days already so that we can get 60 days into the whole study. And so, yes, if you're already taking CBD, that's a good thing, and you're encouraged to join us. If you haven't taken it at all yet, it might be a little bit too late to jump in this study, but throw your name in there anyways so that we know you're interested.
Really wonderful. Thank you, Jen and Eddie. Just a few more questions. I see a few more rolling in. Julie would like to know what kind of emulsion technologies we use, if any, to help with efficacy and stability of our product formulations. And do you guys believe that some are more effective than others?
That's a wonderful question. That's very loaded. So it depends on what product you're talking about. For example, our tincture line, really the components of that product would be just extract some flavoring, and then a carrier oil like medium chain triglyceride or fractionated coconut oil. And in that, there currently are no other ingredients to emulsify the CBD because it as an oil, it's naturally soluble in that fractionated coconut oil. In terms of some of our other products, like the gummies, for example, I believe there is some MCT in that formula, along with maybe maybe sunflower lecithin or some other type of emulsifier. So in terms of efficacy, there's been quite a bit actually of published research that shows that compounds that are emulsified in water tend to be more bioavailable relative to compounds that are not emulsified. But again, that's for oral administration. For sublingual administration, that's a different story. That's a question that would beg a different answer. But there are some research articles out there that showcase that. But in terms of whether or not it's more helpful, I think that's another question. Just because it's more present in your blood, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's more helpful. It just kind of depends on your route of administration, why you're taking the product. It's kind of, it's kind of a loaded question itself. We've kind of had some internal discussion and debates about that. We are working on doing a variety of different formulations that include natural emulsifiers, like the sunflower lecithin. And there are some other new products being developed that I'm not really at liberty to discuss right now on this, but that do take that into consideration for boosting the relative bioavailability of some of those target compounds.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, Eddie, there are all these crazy technologies out there, and we are evaluating all of them in terms of safety and efficacy. But also, there's a really simple thing you can do, and there's actually research to prove that this is true, is just taking your CBD with a fatty meal or a little bit of fat and a little bit of food actually really increases the absorption. It's sometimes even more than these fancy technologies. So that's something you can do right now to just keep using your Charlotte's Web and really ensure that you're getting the most out of it. Just take it with your little breakfast or a little snack at night or a little piece of chocolate maybe, and that will help with the absorption of the CBD.
Yeah, that really got me super excited to hear you mention that, Jen, because that is very true. I'm kind of geeking out thinking about the details. I won't go too much into the science of it, but that is true. The way that typically someone's digestion works when processing fats, if there is a significant amount of fat consumed before taking something that's lipid based like CBD, it really helps with the absorption of the CBD through your endothelial cells, which are the cells that are in your intestines. And I won't, again, I won't get too much into the weeds there, but there is a significant amount of research that shows that when those fats are naturally emulsified in the body, that they can then enter through the lymphatic system, through those endothelial cells, which provides for higher bioavailability relative to something that's taken without a fatty meal consumed before CBD administration.
Wow, awesome. Thank you, guys. Just two more questions here I would really love to get your input on, just as well for my personal knowledge. So Suzanne would like to know if we're applying for a GRAS status of any of our extracts, or are there any other types of certifications that we're really looking to get this year upcoming?
Yeah, so we actually are self-affirmed GRAS for, I think, half of our products right now. We're working on the other half. And so an expert panel basically approved the self-affirmed GRAS dossier that we produced with all of our testing COAs. We've got some rat liver toxicity studies that show that, the amount of CBD that consumers regularly consume, it is very safe, as demonstrated in an animal model. So that is also included in that self-affirmed GRAS dossier. And we're looking at really bolstering that dossier even more, because we are looking at trying to have our products sold in the EU, and the EU novel foods, I guess, regulatory status definitely requires a little bit more than what we did for the self-affirm grass dossier. So we're in the process of initiating some more clinical studies to help substantiate that application.
Wonderful. Thanks, Eddie. And then Julie would like to know that the CBD market is becoming more and more saturated. Or Eddie or Jen, do you have any insights or want to give any information on anything we have planned in the field of innovation?
Well, we really can't give away those secrets, but we are cooking up a lot of cool ideas. And actually, Eddie and I both got a huge package of samples of new products that we might be considering, and we're going to narrow those down. And it's a long process. You have to come up with the ideas, figure out what people want, test them, make sure you like them, manufacture a batch, make sure it works out. So it's a long process before it gets out to the market, but we have some really cool things going on right now that we're brewing up, and eventually you will all see them. But as you probably all know, we just came out with a new line of topicals, and those just came out like last month, and they're awesome. They're 300 milligrams of CBD per ounce. And so they're really high levels of CBD in our topicals, higher than most that you can purchase out there. And it's our full spectrum hemp extract. And I just got a bunch of samples of those, and they're really great. I personally have like a sore hip, and I use it on there all the time, and they work great. So that's our latest launch, and then you'll definitely be seeing some new things out in the future.
Yeah, totally. So recently we engaged a group that's helping build out our R&D capacity. They are spearheading some of these new product initiatives in terms of formulating novel platforms that we can utilize for our full spectrum extract products. So, we have gummies and tinctures right now, and some new topicals, as Jen alluded to. We also have other different platforms that we're hoping to release fairly soon. We're still tinkering around in that R&D formulation stage. And we're also, if some of you were on the earnings call recently, Deanie, our CEO, alluded to the fact that we are exploring the minor cannabinoids that go beyond just CBD. We already have them present in our full spectrum extracts, but looking at new platforms and new cultivars that have them in higher amounts. So that is something that is coming down the pipeline that we are currently working on. And that is a good point. The CBD market is fairly inundated with new players. And so we're continuing to differentiate ourselves with new platforms and new products.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being with us here today, Jen and Eddie. I greatly appreciate you taking the time. And I know I've learned so much just listening to you over the past 45 minutes. I know there are still some outstanding questions in regards to the study. I've taken everyone's questions, and I will reach out with Jen, and we'll get you answers right away to those. Please feel free to email us at social@charlottesweb.com as well with any questions we didn't get to here today. And I will work with Jen and Eddie to get you answers as fast as we can. In the meantime, please connect with us on social media. It's the best way to stay up to date with all of our other live events coming up. Our History of Charlotte's Web is coming up soon, as well as the History of Hemp. So we hope you can join us for those as well.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Eddie, thank you so much for all the amazing information, and look for a follow-up email with a promotion code for, I think, right, Amanda?
Yes, that will be coming
out.
out.
A promotion code for a discount if you want to make any purchases after this. And again, my email, feel free to email me anytime, and please let me know if you want to join the study. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Amanda. Great job. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.